In this video, we will show you all the necessary steps to successfully install SureCrete's XS327 urethane sealer over a concrete countertop made from SureCrete XS precast in a residential kitchen. Here's what you'll need to complete the project. One 6-inch paint roller frame, 4 6-inch foam roller covers, 3 1-quart mixing containers, 2 common plastic spray bottles, a cordless drill, 1 paint mixer attachment, SureCrete SCR, SureCrete XS327 sealer, part A and B, microfiber rags, a scotch pad and sponge, a 220 grit sanding block, and it's also a good idea to download the technical data sheets for both XS327 and the SCR so you know exactly the additional information you'll need to use these products. To properly prepare the surface prior to applying the XS327 sealer, start by flooding the surface with plain water applied by a common spray bottle. Once the surface is saturated, spray an even coat of SureCrete SCR, diluted 4 parts water to 1 part SCR. Gently work the diluted SCR over the surface with a circular scrubbing motion using the Scotch Pad sponge. After thoroughly working over the top and the edges, clean up the residue with a microfiber rag. This process is important to not only clean the surface, but also create a micro profile to ensure proper penetration of the sealer. To ensure all of the residue is removed, spray additional water over the surface and wipe with your microfiber rag. Once the surface has dried, it's time to get started with the sealer application. To optimize the penetration and uniformity of the first coat of sealer, flood the surface again with water. So it's very important to get a consistent coat of water in this. If you have dry spots, or if you just chose to pour the material directly on a dry surface, there's a really good chance that that would leave a discoloration or a streak. So we just want to make sure that this is good and saturated. Again, the key with this application is for this to soak into the pores of the surface. Start by mixing 3 part A's with 2 part B's. Mix for 3 minutes using the paddle attachment on your cordless drill at a low speed, and then let the mix rest for about 5 to 7 minutes. After that, you'll add 7 parts water to 1 part of the catalyzed mixture of XS327, and then mix again for 1 to 2 minutes. Once you've let the material sit for about 1 to 2 minutes, or until all the foam bubbles are gone, you are now ready to apply the first coat of your sealer, which again is diluted 7 parts water to 1 part catalyzed XS327. This coat is really designed to penetrate and essentially encapsulate the concrete below the surface to prevent staining. So it's important to continue to work the material into the top until rejection. Once the surface will no longer accept any more sealer, it's time to pull that excess off from the side and then begin the final rolling process. One of the techniques and tricks to apply this is to make sure that you get it out nice and even. But you can see if you were to just leave it like this, you've got those track lines, and those are not going to flow out. So once we've got the material evenly dispersed over the surface, I'm going to come back with my second roller, as you've been seeing, which is actually a dryer roller. And I'm going to basically try to dry this surface up and knock down all these bubbles. So now I have my original dry roller. I'm just going to squeeze out any residue, and if you come close here, you're going to see that I'm going to roll over this very quickly with very little pressure. And I'm going to start to knock down the bubbles and the track marks. This matte finish XS327 is really nice if you do not want the countertop to have a high gloss look, and very little color enhancement. This is going to leave the color fairly consistent with the original. A little bit of color enhancement, but as it dries, it almost goes back to the original integral color. For this project, this is just our uncolored white XS327. And again, if you zoom in here, you can see there's a lot of little dots. This application is just going to flatten all those out. If you were to let that surface sit too long, those would eventually dry and become a real challenge to get out. So if you start to leave lines, just lighten up on the pressure. I barely have any pressure on this roller, and that's really flattening it out very nice. And when that stops being effective, just dry off your roller and keep coming back over it, and you're just going to basically work the surface until you see a nice flat finish. Steve, does the sealer smell? No, it doesn't. It's completely safe. As you can see here, we've added some more of our straight 3-2 concentrate. So we have a little bit more of a thick film here, but it's still, in the grand scheme of things, a very thin application. And this is all being done in real time, so I am not waiting for each of these coats to dry. We are doing it in line, so everything is happening wet on wet. You can see the surface here is pretty dry already though, so that's good. And we're just taking a very little bit of material. So for this whole stretch of countertop, which is about 8 feet long by just over 2 feet wide, we probably used about a fourth or a fifth of that kit. So this material does go quite a ways. And the idea is to not put on one thick coat, but to do the multiple layers. And again, you can see here that I'm using a foam roller. If you use any kind of a nap roller, you're most likely going to get a lot of shedding from that roller cover. So foam is a great way to go. This inside lip we're not worried about because that is for the drop-in range. All right, so we will come back in the morning and check this out. It should look absolutely uniform and perfect. So we've had about 24 hours of time since the prime coats went down, so now we're coming back with our final coat, and what we're doing here is taking a full kit, 2 parts to 1 part. We've mixed that. We're letting it sit. It's been about 10 minutes now. Now what we're going to do for this coat is mix 2 parts water to 1 part of this solution, and we're going to go over the countertops for this final coat. So in preparation for that, since it's sat for 24 hours, we're taking a 220 grit sand block, and we've just gone over the surface, basically just to open it up. It's removed some little particles of dust and things, maybe some dog hair from the countertops. So now they are really smooth and nice. So last coat goes down, and again, you'll see the process here where we're gonna pour it out, we're gonna roll it, and then we're gonna roll it with a dry roller just to make sure we get all the bubbles out, and then it will be ready for use in about 24 hours. And that's everything you need to successfully install our XS327 sealer.